Welcome back to Blue Wave Pod. I'm your host, Eric Heffinger, and we are literally hours away from making history. Just hours away. In the last episode, my buddy Sohan and I talked about how scared we were. We talked about the Brett Kavanaugh becoming a Supreme Court justice. We talked about all the things that were happening right for Donald Trump and how the energy was building on the right. But I got to tell you, in the past couple weeks since we did that episode, I think my mind is changing, and it's because of the people around me. It's because of what I'm seeing on the ground. They're so sick of it. Oh, they're so sick of it. And there's so much energy for Democrats, and there's so little energy for Republicans as I see it. And I'm not saying that this is going to be the biggest wave in history. I can't predict that. I don't know. But I can tell you this. Something is happening, and we've been saying this since we started this show. Something big is happening. And I'm energized and I'm scared and nervous, but I'm also really excited for the possibilities of what could come in the next, 48 hours or so from me recording this. I want to break down a couple races that I want to look at as we go into the election here and talk about what I think we should pay attention to, really, because there are a lot of lessons to learn from this, and who we see win and who we see lose can really help us, take on 2020 and make the ultimate win, which is taking over the White House, the Congress, and the Senate. First thing I want to start with, Texas, which we didn't talk to anybody from Texas, but Beto O'Rourke versus Ted Cruz is probably the biggest fight going on right now in the entire nation. Beto has become the cult of personality. He is the face of what's going on right now. And he's got kind of a Barack Obama kind of personality to him that he can draw people in like that. He has the ability to do that. And while I really want Beto to win, there's a couple reasons why I think we should pay attention to his story. First, if he wins solely based on the cult of personality, what does that tell us about the future of what the Democrats need? Do they need more Barack Obamas? Do they need more Beto O'Rourke's? Do you have to have that all-drawing personality to bring out Democrats? Right now, it looks like yes, right? But I don't want that personally. I don't want that at all. What I really want is an across-the-board approach that reprimands Republicans and says, what you are doing is completely wrong. The Donald Trump approach is hurting America. And the cult of personality, while I'm drawn into it myself, I want to see a bigger wave than just a Beto O'Rourke kind of wave, right? If he wins, my God, that's awesome. We're taking the Senate probably, right? It's one step closer to taking the Senate at least. But I don't think it should be only people like him that should be winning that night. I do want him to win also because Ted Cruz is a weasel. All the things that Donald Trump said about him, everything that was said about his wife, his father, his own personality, and yet Ted Cruz still gets up there and marches to the beat of whatever Donald Trump says. He is his little whipping boy, and that disgusts me. It disgusts me so much. I don't even like Ted Cruz, and I like him even less in the fact that he cannot stand up to Donald Trump. Say what you will about Ohio's Governor Kasich. The man at least still stands up to Trump. Cruz, no matter what, no matter how much he's insulted, is still right by his side. And I just want the country to see that if you align yourself with Trump, you're going to get squished. And I want the people that are only in it for power, like Ted Cruz. Why else would he align himself with Donald Trump like this? He only wants power. That those people should get destroyed. In a state that he shouldn't even be touchable, he should get destroyed. Right? I'm rooting for Rourke. I'm sure you are as well. But Beto O'Rourke, I think that's going to be a big bellwether for what's going to come for the rest of the night for everybody else. And they're not even the first time zone that we're talking about here, right? We also need to talk about Florida's governor race. Andrew Gillum is saying it like it is. His opponent is using Donald Trump's playbook to the T and using every racist dog whistle that you can think of to pull out the worst voters in America to the polls. We have to pay attention to this race in every way because this is so important into what the future of the Republican Party holds. If they win in even half the races where they pull this out, they're going to keep using this idea that they can run racist, terrible politics and still win most of the time. I mean, if Donald Trump can win it on the biggest level possible, right? They believe that they're going to pull out the worst. They're going to pull out, the child molesters and Roy Moore kind of stuff again. They really believe that they can get away with this and that sometimes they'll be shut down. But for the most part, this will help them win. And we need Gillum to win in Florida. Watch that debate. Watch Stacey Abrams in Georgia. Could be the first female African American to be governor in the United States. This is huge. History breaking. Yeah, it's just watch these governor races. They are so important. In my state, it's Richard Cordray. He's going neck and neck right now with Mike DeWine, which he's been in an election with him before and he lost to him. But I feel like he's got it this time. And I think it's the wave possibility that's behind him right now that is really helping him. And I think that's the untold story in a lot of things that's happening right now. And no one wants to admit it. No Republican wants to admit it. And I don't think Democrats want to bring up how powerful it is. But these governorships, they matter so much. And what's going to happen in the next couple of years is redistricting. In 2020, we have the census. In 2021, we have redistricting of every congressional seat. That means in the state, and it also means for Congress in itself. The power there is going to be huge. As you vote, make sure that you vote for Democrats in this, no matter what, because we need to send an overwhelming message to Republicans that what they're doing is wrong, and then we can redraw all of these districts right now to make them more fair. Now, I understand that some Democrats use the redistricting process for their own advantage. In my own state, we just passed a new law to help us make them more even. I hope all states pass this. But right now it is so gerrymandered, it's ridiculous. And you have to have your Democrats in power to make sure that you get your state in a more even playing field. We need this more than anything. And we're talking about a lot of senators. We're talking about congressional races. We're talking about flipping the House, right? But very few people are saying what happens as we sweep the state houses, right? What happens if we sweep the governorships across the U.S. is this is the year. Between now and 2020, we have a great opportunity to lay the groundwork for the future of the Democratic Party. And that is through the governorships. Because the census is happening this year, we can control what will happen in the future. We can set it up so Republicans are on the run. And that's the goal, that they are afraid of using these tactics that divide us, right? We need to say this is enough. I have to be honest with you. I voted already. And for the first time in history, I have voted straight Democratic ticket. This is a Democratic show. I identify as a Democrat. I still believe that quality leadership should be more important than party labels. And there's so many people that run locally or my state or anything like that I felt, oh man, this is a bad candidate. I'm going to vote for the other. Or maybe I skip it or anything like that. This is the first time in my life that I said, no, it's D across the board, all Democrats, because if Donald Trump wins again, it solidifies the fact that his evil, fear-mongering propaganda is the way to run. And I don't want my children to be raised in that kind of world. I don't believe that is the way that we should drive our country forward. I really believe that we should fight for each other And, we can disagree. I have no problem with that at all. But I have a huge problem with the hate for each other, the fear for each other. Those are things that we need to get rid of. And the only way we're going to get rid of that is first starting the midterm and then following up in 2020 in just absolute destruction of the party that Donald Trump has built. There are some things that really give me positive energy for these next couple of days. One of these is early voting numbers are up, up, up. People are excited to vote. And I know we've got a lot of states where there's a lot of voter disenfranchisement going on. But, if we look at Texas alone, more people have early voted in Texas than in the entire 2014 election in Texas. That's crazy. That's awesome. I can't support that enough, right? And Democratic numbers across the U.S. right now are up. Now, there are some states that are neck and neck. I was just reading about Colorado, where early voting is skyrocketing, but the numbers for Republicans and Democrats are equal. Now, that doesn't mean that, we don't know who they voted for right now. We haven't got those those results in. But we do know that registered Republicans and registered Democrats are voting at the same amount in Colorado. So while I'm excited about these things, I'm still nervous. There's something about Donald Trump that gets his people to the polls. He's got his cult of personality. Again, I want to get past that. I want to get to the point. I want to get to the issues. I want to get to what we care about, not just the individual. And I really hope that between now and 2020, we can get beyond that and get to those points. We're going to have a cult of personality at some point. We're going to have a leader that takes over the party and leads us to election win in 2020 for the presidency. But we really got to stick to our issues, and we've got to find the most important points. Right now, here's a couple issues that stand out to me that seem to be driving all voters, right and left. Healthcare, economy, immigration, and Trump. For Democrats, it's all about healthcare and holding Trump accountable. For Republicans, it's all about the economy and immigration. And immigration still boggles my mind how angry people get about some BS stories like the caravan from Mexico, they're not even from Mexico, they're from El Salvador. They're coming out through Mexico, and yet people are so afraid by this. They're just so afraid. And I guess that's why I can't identify with the Republican voter. I don't have that fear of other people. So what we're going to learn from this election has to do with those four topics. What is going to drive voters to the polls? And right now, I really, really believe, and I think we're going to see this in just a short time, Trump is going to be the driver. Of those four topics, healthcare, economy, immigration, and Trump, I really think Trump is the biggest part of this because the economy is doing great. I can't argue that in any way, shape, or form. And I don't necessarily think that Trump and his administration are the reason why it's 100% doing this, but he has certainly put that idea out there to big business owners that he is not going to regulate them or hold them accountable for anything they do. So they're willing to invest right now. So part of that is him. But the economy seems to not matter to so many people that are just tired of Trump's shit. And I'm one of them. I really am. And that's why I'm so afraid of him. I'm so afraid of the things that he could bring forward. But yet I think it might be his downfall and that he cannot control himself in any way, shape, or form. And I think it'll be the downfall of the Republican Party that they cannot hold him in check and that they refuse to even go out of the way to say anything against him. If you were to ask me when this election happened, or when 2016 happened, if Donald Trump would be unchecked, I would laugh. I would say, no way. He's not even a true Republican in the way he acts. He's changing the party. There's got to be a group that will stand up and say, no, this is not how a leader should act. And yet somehow we have gone down this weird rabbit hole and just assumed that because he's president, that whatever he does is presidential. And I am lost on how this has become the norm. When he first became president, there was all this is not normal, and it has become, it's totally become, this is normal. And I cannot wait for this to be proven wrong. Now, I think we're going to win the House. I think everybody's saying we're going to win the House. Democrats have this as much. And that's the first step. We have to have some check in power. So even if it's only the House we win and not the Senate, that's okay. It is the start of something big. Would it be great to have the Senate? Yes, it'd be great to have the Senate. I really think we're close to having a chance. I think there are a couple elections that are going to be so borderline that it's going to go either way. Part of me right now, looking at the latest numbers, I think it's going to fall that we're going to take the House by a seat or two. And that's a long shot when you look at the polls. Right? Most of them say we're going to stay the same. I think we might get it. For the Senate. By a seat or two. For the House, I think we've got this for sure. We're going to pick up at least 30 seats. If you look at the historical records for this, for a president with this type of approval rating, we're looking at Obama, we're looking at Clinton, we can't look at Bush after September 11th. So we're gonna avoid him off because that was, not the norm. You're gonna pick up at least 40 to 50 seats, is what history tells us in this time of midterm. I think we're going to pick up more than that. I think you're really going to see some type of wave here. And there's a couple seats that you should watch to understand that. One of them is in Kentucky, and that's Amy McGrath. She's running in the Kentucky 6th, and I'm sure you've seen her ads. She's a military vet. She's going up against Andy Barr, and they're neck and neck right now. But this is a seat that is a swing seat. So if she wins this could be a predictor for the rest of the country. For me, my indicator is a big one, right? How big is this wave going to be? It's going to be Ken Harbaugh. It is my local hometown hero kind of guy that's running. Is the first guest we had on this podcast. We've talked about him a billion times. It's the same kind of race that Amy McGrath is running in Kentucky and running neck and neck. But Harbaugh is running, well, before it was nobody said he could do it. And in these past couple weeks, the polls have been changing, and now he seems to be within 5 or 6 points of winning. If you see something like this in a district where Trump won by over 30 points, this is your definition of what a wave is. It could become a tsunami. So I want you to watch McGrath. I want you to watch Harbaugh. And this could tell us how big this is going to be, right? Big is great. Winning the House is most important. We have to have some check and power, but big is better. And I don't know, something inside of me these past 2 weeks has told me, yes, this is going to happen, right? So get out there, go vote, get everyone you can to vote. I have no idea if anything I said in my random rambling is true or not, but we have the power to do this. The people are out there. They're doing it. You can help that. I can help that. Help in any way that you possibly can. Just get the information out there. As for this podcast, we promised we'd do this for a year, and Sohan and I have been bad about it the second half of the year, really great about it the first half of the year. And I wanna thank a lot of people that have helped us make this show happen. I want to thank Ken Harbaugh, our first guest on the show. I want to thank our buddies Brandon Peary and DJ Douglas, who came out and talked about why they were voting the way they were voting a year before the election even happened. I want to thank Aaron Godfrey. I want to thank Joe Healy, Rick Neal, Lorraine Wilburn, Joe Schiavone. I want to thank Larkin Cleland, Clara Vorndren. I want to thank Dylan Cox. They came out. They were high school students that are out there working every single day. I want to thank the teachers and students and parents that marched in D.C. for the March for Our Lives. Rachel Sosnowchek, who works with OFA, who is getting out there and making sure that people know what they're talking about as they register voters and they get people to the polls. Dennis Kucinich, who ran for governor. I want to thank Jordan Valerie Allen, who's run with Pride, which is a great organization that is helping LGBTQ people get into, first run for office, then hopefully get into office. I want to thank David Ferris, who wrote the book Time to Fight Dirty. I want to thank our friend Tim Pyatt, who is running for the Ohio State House. I want to thank David Pepper and Rachel Coyle. David is the head of the Ohio Democratic Party. Rachel Coyle, it was Joe Savoni's head of his campaign and now is the press secretary for the Ohio Democratic Party. I want to thank Tom Bullock, and I want to thank Wade Monday. And most of all, I want to thank my co-host, Sohan Manik. This was his idea to start this, to talk about this, and to figure out what we should do next. We're in the middle of a very complicated area that could be huge for this nation, and we just wanted to tell that story. And while it's a national story, we focused a lot on, here locally in Ohio. Sohan has been outstanding. He has been a curator of ideas and finding people to talk to. And the reason things have slowed down a bit here are two-frame. One, I jumped into politics myself. I took a role on my own city council in my town, and I'm learning what it means to serve the public. And the second is Sohan has been given the amazing job opportunity that I won't name the business right now, but it's big and it's awesome. And he has moved, and he is now getting situated in Seattle, Washington, and getting settled in the scene there. So while it's been confusing for us, we appreciate most of all every single listener that we've had. We've got going on 4,000 listeners of our show, and for a little tiny group like us that just we didn't know what we're doing and we're just putting it out there, we appreciate it so very much. I will do a show after the election, and we'll talk about the things that I think I learned from all of this overall. And I thank you all for listening throughout this whole time, and I hope you keep listening, because the only way we're going to win this thing is if we fight not just in 2017 and 2018, but also in 2019 and all the way through 2020, and we put this country right again.